Hey everybody, and welcome to our early video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. This is our big show where we show you some of the biggest and best books that you can purchase this. You can go to your local comic book store. You can shop with us at infinityflux.net. You can come to the store this week and get all this great stuff while
Yeah.
supplies last. But we're going to go over some fantastic books that are coming out, their variants, all that good stuff coming right up. But yeah, so let's get into it because these first two are real bangers.
Well, yeah. So we have the Rocketfellers #1. This is the new book from the Ghost Machine imprint over at Image. This is written by Peter J. Tomasi. The art is by Francis Manapul. And this is about this family right here. They're known as the Rocketfellers, or that's their name. They're not known as, that's their name. But they're from the 25th century. But they're on the run from something or someone called Kronex. But we don't yet know why. We don't know if Kronex, we do see a villain in this, but I don't know if Kronex is that individual character.
That name almost gives me the idea of like a corporation or something.
But so the first several pages of this issue are them being chased by Kronex, and they're trying to time pod so that they can escape into their past, which is our present. And they are successful in doing so. And then the rest of the book takes place in current day and shows the Rockefellers hosting just a regular neighborhood barbecue. We see that they have actually, I guess it's they escaped to maybe like 1 year in our past because they by the time we see them in our present, they've been there for a year. So maybe they went back to 2023 and then now it's 2024. But they're hosting a neighborhood barbecue, and but they still don't know their neighbors very well, even though they've been living there for a year. So they're trying to get to know them. And obviously, they don't tell anybody that they're from the future. They try to keep that a secret as best they can. But their neighbors do find them a little bit odd because they still say some things that the neighbors just don't quite understand. And then, so that's most of the issue right there is just us getting to know the Rockefellers as their neighbors are getting to know them as well. But near the end, we see Roland. He is the head of the family. He's the husband, the father. We see him talking to his brother who is in the future, and we do see what they have in their possession that is causing them to hide in the past. I have no idea what it is though. It looks weird. It's not what you might be thinking it is. But I thought this was really fun. It's a sci-fi family adventure. It gives me vibes of the Jetsons mixed with the earliest issues of Fantastic Four, maybe a little bit of Lost in Space thrown in there, even though this is more time travel than space travel, but still family, sci-fi adventures, that kind of thing. And then the mystery of why they're on the run and what this object is that they have is very intriguing. Obviously, the artwork by Francis Manapul is great. Like, this is just a fun comic book. There's a lot more to learn. We will not, if when you read this on Wednesday, you're not going to get a lot of answers, but that's okay because all the characters are great. Like the family, they get along well together. The brother and sister bicker like brothers and sisters.
Yeah, and they also have very like Franklin Richards
Yeah,
and Valeria, where like they're from the future and they're like, I can impress people with my like little trinkets I can build and stuff, and that a lot of fun comes from that. But the parents have to be like, no, we gotta lay low here. You can't be showing off all the time.
And we know from the Ghost Machine preview book that came out several months ago that eventually Kronex or goons from Kronex who are chasing them down come back to the past, and there's a big chase too. So it's not like we're in the past now and we're completely free and clear. We know that there's more stuff coming, but it's just a fun adventure series. There's time travel elements.
There is a major death in it too,
yes,
which uh, this is like a fun book, an adventure book, but it's not like you could call it kind of all ages, but not in the sense of like everyone's safe. It's like no, there's gonna be real stakes in this as well, real action. But yeah, highlighting Francis Manapul's art in this is fantastic. When you see the title Rocketfellers, he does the thing that he used to do in Flash, where he works it into the environment and everything. It's just so good. This is definitely one of my favorites that I loved issue 1, but it really sets up of like this is going to be a really fun series going forward. What kind of stuff
Yeah.
are they going to be getting into? Um, you know, they with their tech, they even have ways of like, well, what do they do for fun? Well, that does involve some of their tech and
Right.
stuff that's
Yeah.
really cool when you see it. So yeah, I like the fish out of water feel of it with their kind of like a little bit like aliens next door where
Yeah.
they're trying to they maybe slip up and say like a futuristic term and
Yeah.
everything. It's all really really fun. But if you need any reason to pick this up, every one of the Ghost Machine books has been amazing so
Yeah.
far. This is
And this is just
equally
another
part of
one. Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't do bad if your comic pull list was just Ghost Machine.
Yeah.
You would have good reads every time you had
Yeah,
something in your
definitely.
box.
Yeah, so super fun. I really, really enjoyed it. I definitely cannot wait to read the next one. I want to learn what this thing is, learn more about the family, see them interact with each other more, that kind of stuff. I loved it.
And
So,
they have a dog too.
and they have
That's
a dog,
really
yeah.
fun.
All right, so this is our A cover right there, and we have this nice variant from Ivan Rice. Oops. Showing off the family, and that this gives me vibes of Bionic Six for my '80s kids out
Yeah.
there. That just what they're wearing kind of looks like that a little bit.
Yeah, it's on my pull list,
Yep.
and I can't wait for more of
Yeah, it
it.
was really fun.
Next up, I have another one that is on my pull list, and yeah, as a disclaimer, this is one like before I read it because we read this like a month
Yeah.
ago or something. I was like, it sounds cool. I probably will read it for the show, but I, may not get it issue by issue. I read issue number one of this, and I was like, I even though I've already read this, I've got to have this series
Hmm.
because I loved issue one so much. So this is the question all along the Watchtower number one. This could be a 6-issue miniseries following Renee Montoya, The Question. So this is written by Alex Seguera and art is by Cian Torme, which the art in this is one of the reasons it makes it so
Yeah.
good.
I think this may be the best work I've seen from Cian Torme
Yeah,
yet. Yeah, it's
yeah,
really
for
good.
sure. And this also feels like it's so hard because we've already read Justice League Unlimited
Hmm.
and all that, but this feels like just an attachment onto the side of that because this is dealing with the Watchtower and so many cool things. So uh, Renee Montoya was formerly working with the GCPD.
She was the
She was
commissioner. Yeah.
commissioner for a while until Mayor Nakano basically had to let her go because Vandal Savage was coming in. So it really plays off some of the stuff that was going on in Batman and
Hmm.
all of that. But just as Renee was kind of like out to drift, being like, what am I going to do next? She is visited by some heroes, basically asking her, we need you. We're starting this new Justice League, and we have this new Watchtower, this big space station. We need a head of security, and we think you would be the perfect fit for this. What's so cool about this is Renee Montoya is she doesn't have any superpowers.
Right.
Even she's just a really good detective, a really reliable person, all of that. And she is essentially going to the space station full of gods and how she handles herself in that situation. You see those characters through her eyes as she describes talking to Superman, talking to Wonder Woman. It's all really, really cool.
The way she describes Wonder Woman is really
It
cool.
makes you feel like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
like when Wonder Woman walks in a room,
Hmm.
it's like a presence. But Wonder Woman, as she's giving her a tour of the Watchtower, which is really cool because we see a bunch of new areas we hadn't seen before. Like there's a part that's kind of a zoo where they
Yeah.
keep like some rare animals and stuff that has Animal Man watching over it. They do introduce you to the Challengers of the Unknown, which is going to be its own series coming up. But that's a really key part because she even asked them, "What's up with all these guys wearing purple or whatever?"
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman tells them, "This is the Challengers of the Unknown. They're essentially like the
She's.
what makes the Watchtower run."
I think she described them as the Watchtower's nervous system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you get introduced to a lot of really key elements that are going to be going on in the Justice League and the Watchtower and everything.
Yeah, this book up and because this comes out before Justice League. This book until Justice League comes out is the best look yet at the Watchtower.
Yeah.
How big it is, how it's laid out, that kind of thing. You get a nice look at the inside of the Watchtower.
Yeah, and it's cool because you see all the characters. There's a scene where you see Shining Knight,
Yeah.
Constantine, Zatanna. Like everyone hangs out at the Watchtower, so everywhere you look, there's a bunch of really cool characters. But she is told, one of the reasons they brought Renee Montoya in here is the question is they we don't exactly know how they know this, but they have the feeling that someone is kind of poking and prodding the security system of the Watchtower, trying to weaponize it. We don't know a whole lot of details about maybe how they got that first idea or whatever, but that's like her first job going in there is to investigate what's going on here. But she is given a team to work with as well. She's not going to be on her own. She kind of has the guy in the chair,
Yeah.
which is really fun. I don't want to give away. There's two people specifically that are kind of in her ear talking to her that are really really fun. But also there's someone else who's going to be helping her on this that hits a little close to home for Renee Montoya, and that's going to be a really cool part of this as well. But the stakes get raised as there is a murder on the Watchtower, and that's what's gonna propel us into this mini series. This is really cool. It's so cool that like the entire thing takes place on the Watchtower.
Yeah.
So that's the environment you're in throughout the entire thing. Um, Renee Montoya, her new suit in this is really cool. It's way more of like a Western duster. She almost feels like a sheriff
Yeah.
of the Watchtower. She has a special weapon that is a gun, but it like shoots people to like teleports them to the holding cell and eventually to the Phantom Zone. So she has a way of like getting rid of enemies. And there is a big attack that happens in this by a character that I was super excited about because I had an action figure of them when I was young and I hadn't seen them in a really long time,
Yeah.
and I got really excited about that. But this is really cool, and it is really setting up something that feels pretty integral to the kind of the bones of what the Justice League is going to be, and it feels like it's going to like kind of weave and intersect with the main Justice League title. At least you'll see characters kind of walk by each other, and it feels like a really cohesive universe. And that's what we were talking about before with like Black Lightning. They
Yeah.
used a lot of this. The Question, Justice League Unlimited, all the DC universe now feels very cohesive and like it's all going on at the same time,
Yeah.
and it inhabits the same space. And
Yeah,
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, this does feel very connected to the Justice League book coming out next week. Black Lightning feels connected to that. I'm sure Challengers of the Unknown.
Yeah, that's going to be
There's
a big
already
one.
been some connective tissue there. So this, all these books do feel connected, but not to the point where you have to read them all.
Right.
It's just like if you want to know, if you want to look in this room of the Watchtower and you want to see what the Challengers are doing, you can do that. You don't have to read them all, but if you do read them all, you're going to get this huge picture
Yeah.
of the entire DC universe, and it's really good, like really well done. That you can tell they planned this out for a while.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like Justice League is the hub world, and then spokes out of it are
Yeah.
all these little things. You're like, oh, that character's cool. Well, they have a mini series over here. And
The Atom Project is another
the Atom
one.
Project
Yeah.
is coming up, so you're going to be getting a lot of really cool world building bits. Whereas the Justice League book is going to be kind of the main, where the central spine of the DC universe
Yeah.
goes forward. You're going to have these books that kind of support it and just flesh out the world even more. So we've talked it up a lot, even back when we were doing the orders for it and everything. But don't sleep on this because it is so much fun, so cool, with a character that I feel like now really had, like, she's been used a lot of really cool ways, but she feels like she's got a distinct character as opposed to just like how Vic Sage was the Question. Now she's the Question. She has her own form of it. It's
cool
really
to,
cool.
It's cool to see her. Like anytime we've seen Renee Montoya, the Question, it's always been in Gotham. It's
Yeah.
always been around Batman or Batwoman or something. So it's cool to see her a little bit out of her element now.
Yep.
She's in a little bit over her head, and it's just really cool to see how she's going to deal with that.
Yep. So
This is one of my favorite all-in books already.
Yeah.
After one issue, it's already one of my favorite all-in books. It's that good.
So this is your A cover by your interior artist. So that's what it looks like. It is beautiful. The colors, everything. Especially, I feel like the colors, because of all the Watchtower stuff, is so vibrant.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. We've got some variants for it as well. So we've got this. This is the Fornes variant, which is very cool. Her kind of walking the tunnels of the Watchtower. And then we have this. I believe this is this Carrillo variant. It's way more kind of like Annie Oakley,
Yeah.
like Old West.
All right. Well, next I've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Naruto #1. This is written by Caleb Gallner and the art is by Hendry Presetia. And right off the bat, the cool thing about this book is that it's not multiversal tomfoolery that brings the Turtles and Naruto together. This
No
is
one falls through a magic
Yeah, it's
portal.
nothing. It's not like the Turtles of Grayskull thing,
Yeah.
where that is a bunch of we went through a portal, we landed here. No, this is set in a world where the Turtles just live in the same world as Naruto. They do a really good job of bridging the two worlds together. You know, Naruto lives in the Hidden Leaf Village, while the Turtles live in the Big Apple Village. And it looks like a smaller New York City. There, the Statue of Liberty still there. There's still these big buildings, but it's a village that exists in the world of Naruto. And the story here is that April O'Neil went to visit the Hidden Leaf Village to talk to Tsunade, who is the leader of the village. She's the leader of the Hokage. And now Naruto and Sasuke and Sakura and Kakashi, for you Naruto fans out there, those four, that's kind of like your main four, at least in the early days of Naruto. They're escorting her back home. But on the way there, they are attacked by the Foot Clan. And, you're thinking, oh, sweet, we're going to see Naruto and his buddies fight the Foot Clan. But before they can, the Turtles show up and they take out the Foot. And then, because this is a comic book and heroes have to fight before they team up, right? The Naruto and his buddies fight the Ninja Turtles and Splinter, and that's actually what most of this first issue is just the two groups going at it, and it's really cool. We get I'm trying to remember, like, Leonardo fighting. I don't remember who fights who, but it's all really cool. And
And this version of the Ninja Turtles is kind of through the filter of Naruto,
yeah,
so they have like really cool suits and
yeah, they have
even masks and
masks. Yeah,
everything. Uh,
Leonardo's even wearing a headband like Naruto does that has the symbol of his village on
mhm.
it. It's really cool. But Naruto even uses his shadow clone technique against a couple of the turtles. So it is very Naruto esque. Like, it feels very accurate to that, but it also feels accurate to the Ninja Turtles too. And so, like I said, this book is mostly just them fighting each other. The artwork is really
Mhm.
good. For a second, I thought it was Todd Knock.
Oh yeah,
It's
it does
very
have
Todd
that.
Knock,
Does have that feel.
yeah, but it looks really good. The colors are great. I'm not really even the biggest Naruto fan, but this was just a ton of fun. I am a Ninja Turtles fan, and I like seeing them mix it up with characters from anime and manga. I thought that was really cool. Now, I don't really know what the overall story is going to be, but I
They do
definitely
kind
want to
of hint
read.
at it a little bit with what April is investigating and
Yeah,
how that's going to spread and why they're going after her.
yeah,
And the last page kind of reveal of some characters is really really
yeah,
cool. The kind of relationship they may have
yeah.
is really cool.
Yeah, so this was a lot of fun. If you're a fan of Ninja Turtles or Naruto or both, you're definitely gonna enjoy this, I believe. So I recommend it a lot. So there is our A cover right there by Jorge Jimenez. That looks really cool.
Yeah, I think he's doing all the A covers for the series,
Oh,
which
and
is
I don't have any variants, so that's the only one I've got right now.
and it's a good one to have.
Yep.
Okay, next up, I want to talk about Ultimate Spider-Man #11. So this continues to be a great series as our Ultimate Universe is ever growing and expanding and adding characters. I feel like I don't know if they had a mandate, but like 1 year in, maybe start to trickle in some more new characters. We know coming up, we're going to be talking about on a future show. The Ultimates are getting Guardians of the Galaxy. Are going to be
Yeah.
appearing in this, and they're bringing in some supporting characters for Spider-Man. So this is technically your first appearance of the new Black Cat. There was the Black Cat, the guy who was kind of the swashbuckling type cat burglar. But if you read the previous issue, he took a mighty bad fall, and that is what happens in this one, where you pick up the pieces from there. So first off, you do have some really fun action. We kind of talk about like we love this series, but we wish there was more Spider-Man in it. Like doing Spider-Man things, and you do get some of that in here
Yeah.
as a bank is being robbed by Mr. Negative's. I don't know what his goons are called that wear like the masks and everything. They're in the game and all of
Yeah, I
that.
can't remember what they're. I just call them goons. Yeah.
Yeah, but you get to see some really fun fights there. Some great quips from Spider-Man and everything. But he does get beat up pretty badly. And what I love about the series is he goes home with his tattered suit, and MJ's there, basically being like, are you going will you tell me when this is kind of out of your hands, when like we should be worried? And he's like, "Yep, I promise you, if there's ever a time we need to run or whatever, you'll know," because she keeps seeing him come back so beat up and everything. But we also see the gathering of the Sinister Six once again with Kingpin and Craven and Mole Man, who I love this version of Mole Man. Uh, but the seat where Black Cat was is empty because he had a horrible accident, maybe because of Green Goblin in the previous issue, and he comes into the room and he definitely can no longer do the stuff he was doing before. He's in a wheelchair. He looks like he's on oxygen. It was a really bad fall, but as they're saying, I guess Black Cat is out of the group. We're going to be a Sinister Five now. He's not so quick to give up his chair because he has his daughter, which I'm guessing is Felicia Hardy.
Yeah, I think so.
Come in to take his place on the Sinister Six seat. So we don't see her in action. We don't see like what's on the cover, but she does make an appearance in this, and then it seems like we'll be seeing a lot more of her to come. As he probably will throw down with her in the next couple issues.
Yeah, so technically this is the first appearance of this universe's version of Black Cat, but she's in one panel,
yeah,
and she doesn't say or do anything.
I don't think she says anything.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, so like this series has been, it's methodical, but it's still entertaining along the way. And I really like this issue. There's some great moments between Peter and Ben because you are coming up on that 1 year anniversary, even of the death of Aunt May and everything, and they have some really great poignant moments in this. So I really, really like this issue. And if you're, all for the first appearance of these new Ultimate characters, yes, it is the first time that this new Black Cat is in the book. But that's about all you can say for her being in this. But another great issue of Ultimate Spider-Man with issue number 11 with some fun action scenes and everything. So that is your A cover. We have this great homage cover to Jim Lee, this Casanovas variant, which is going between all the Ultimate books, right?
Yeah, it's a connecting cover. Yeah.
And then we also, just to spotlight her, we have this Corin Howell variant with the new Black Cat. And then I love this cover. I kind of wish it wasn't incentive because I would definitely be getting it. This is the 1 in 25 Terry Dodson variant. Perfect for Thanksgiving time. And we are selling this for $20. But this is really fun. I love how, every issue of Ultimate Spider-Man says what month it is. So this one is November. So everything, it's a little bit more holiday in this. And like with this cover, Thanksgiving. So I think that's a kind of a cool thing about this Ultimate Universe is that like real time.
It's it's real time. Yeah.
Real time.
All right, well, I've got Venom War. It's Jeff, number 1. This is a one-shot. It is a tie into the Venom War epic story that's going on right now. And I know there's a lot of Venom War tie-ins, although they're all pretty much wrapping up. But I had to talk about this one because it's so much fun. It's written by Kelly Thompson, and the artist by Gurahiru, who does all the Jeff Infinity Comics on the Marvel Unlimited app. This is one of the most fun Venom War tie-ins that I've read, and I've read them all. And it's because it's Jeff is always a fun character, but it's also kind of a stealth Kelly Thompson West Coast Avengers book as well. Jeff in this one, he bonds with a symbiote and goes to Coney Island where he devours every single piece of food that he can find. He's eating all the little booths out of all their food. But he doesn't get to do that for long before the place is invaded by zombiotes. And it's really cool because the symbiote changes forms and he gets like all big and swole, kind of like, think about like what King Shark looks like.
Oh yeah.
He's up on on his legs, and then he's got these big swole arms, and then his like shark head. He kind of looks like that, but thanks to the symbiote, it makes him do that. And he fights the symbiotes along with Kate Bishop, America Chavez, Gwenpool, and Fuse, who are all from Kelly Thompson's run of West Coast Avengers, which is a really fun run and did not last anywhere near long enough. I don't even know the last time we saw any of those characters. Kate Bishop, we probably saw her most recently, but I don't know when. I don't know where America Chavez has been. So it was really cool to see them there again fighting against the zombiotes with Jeff, who is now this big swole zombiote guy. There's a lot of action, but this is a really cool, fun, all ages book. It's very appropriate for kids. You could even read if you just are a fan of Jeff, but you don't know what the Venom War stuff is. You can still pick this up and read it and have a good time with it. It's really funny, but the artwork is fun and the action and everything. So I recommend it. Even if you're not reading all the Venom War stuff, if you just want something like really fun to read, this is a nice one and done story. So there's our A cover right there, and then we have this really nice In-Hyuk Lee, Gwenpool, and Jeff variant.
Next up, I have Star Wars: The Battle of Jakku Republic Under Siege #1. So this is the #1, but it is in our series of the Battle of Jakku. I believe this is our third number
Does it say
one.
what part?
I don't think so.
It says part 5 of 12.
Okay,
So that's our second one then.
yes, it's our second one. I had to place the orders for the third
Yeah.
one today because this all makes up a 12-part kind of maxi series. So it's interesting they're doing it this way. But this one is issue 1 of Republic Under Siege, and continues the story. We have Adelhard, who is kind of our big antagonist for this. He wants to convince all his men that the Empire didn't fall at the Battle of Endor, but that's getting harder and harder to kind of keep them away from any of that knowledge. But his overall goal is to kind of reignite the Empire with him in charge. But now that the Empire has fallen completely and it's just him left, he's having to seek out help other places, and that includes going to different like smuggling groups and even dark force users that he knows about to kind of bolster his ranks. And he even says like, I'm including people that the old empire never would have. But this does make him a bigger threat because the New Republic doesn't know what to do. There's so many elements going on. But he does learn that there is a spy among his crew, and we know one of them from a previous issue that helped some of our characters get out of an Imperial prison. But it seems like maybe there is someone else that is kind of a wild card in this that we are not sure who they're working for. Plus, we do continue our story with Luke, who has Ren, who is the pilot from the first issue of this maxi series, and they get ambushed by the acolytes of the Beyond, who are trying to steal this Jedi artifact that Luke has. And then there is a special guest appearance or character, I guess, who's going to be through the rest of this. That if you've been reading this and you kind of read the solicitations and you see the cover of the next issue, it kind of gives it away, but I'm not going to say it here. But it is fun to see this character. The latest in the timeline of Star Wars that we've seen them yet. And I think that's really, really cool. So if you're reading this series, don't miss out on this because with all these #1s, and it can get confusing with multiple miniseries that make up a bigger series, all of that. Make sure you pick this one up if you've been reading it. It would be kind of a hard part to jump into, even though it's a #1. You could probably find your way through it, but mostly if you've been reading this, it will. That's who the audience is. But really fun issue. You've got your A cover right here. We also have this Sean Isaacs variant. There's not a green arrow on the cover.
There's a green cloak.
Yeah. And then we also have this cover. This is the Lionel Francis Yu cover that we are selling for $44.99. Very cool one.
All right. Well, next up is Moondogs #1, and this is written
I
by.
keep waiting for you to say Moon Knight, and you say Moondogs, and it like.
Well, Moon Knight's coming later, but
it like switches my brain.
Yeah. Now watch me mess up. Yeah. This is written by Tanner Reeve-Dew, and the art is by Kelsey Ramsey. And this is the third book in the Horizon Experiment line of books, which is a series of one-shots designed to take characters from marginalized communities and put them in a popular genre. And this one is described as being about a family of werewolves of East African descent. So it's set in Miami, and it's centered around a woman named Nala, who, along with her brother Kai and their parents, they are werewolves. And Nala has a boyfriend named Carlos. He's not a werewolf, but she recently told him their secret, and he's cool with it. But there's some things that she's still keeping from him because she doesn't want to. She thinks that there's some things that too extreme for him to handle. So he knows about them, but not maybe everything. And then Kai, her brother, he is starting to become frustrated with having to hide who he is, and he falls in with a bad group of werewolves who just want to cause chaos that'll eventually lead to a werewolf human war. They're a
Mm.
little bit more outward about, yeah, they don't really try to hide the fact, they don't really advertise that they're werewolves, but they also don't really try to hide it that well either. They will kill people and leave the claw marks, the bodies with claw marks on the street. They don't try to hide anything. So Kai kind of falls in with them because he likes how they operate. He likes that he doesn't have to hide who he is when he's around them. So Nala tries to make him understand why they have to keep their secret, and who they really are. He refuses to listen, and then of course that leads her into conflict with this new pack. This is a one and done story, as are all of the Horizon Experiment line of books. Um, they're all one and dones, but it is left open in a way to where if sales are good and reception's positive, we could get more. I really liked this a lot. I like werewolf stories,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a lot of, even though it's just a one issue, there's a lot of deep lore there that they go into about. There's a whole plot with on the mother side of the family. She has these tea leaves that they use to actually try to help kind of control their transformation, and they can transform into werewolves regardless of what the moon is doing.
Mm.
They it helps them. They can transform when they want, but it also helps to ease the transformations when they do transform because of the moon. And there's a whole little subplot with all of that going on. So they, in one issue, they do get a nice little bit of backstory in with this family. It's not just your typical, oh, they turn into werewolves when the moon's full. No, there's a lot more to it than
Mm.
that, and I would like to see more of that explored if this takes off. So if that sounds fun to you, then definitely check out Moondogs #1. There's our A cover right there. And we have this Tuolote connecting variant that's going to connect all of the Horizon Experiment books.
Next up, I've got one that is very different than that one. This is Marvel's What
Huh.
If Minnie Became Captain Marvel #1. So this is much like our What If Donald Duck Became Wolverine, that kind of stuff. This is a one shot, although there is some, I think, some like longer series coming up. I
Hmm.
think maybe the Fantastic Four one coming up is not a one
Okay.
shot, but
Oh, I didn't
multiple
know
issues.
that.
I'm not sure, but they've been doing a lot of these fun mashup
Yeah.
books, and this one's pretty, for what it is, pretty straightforward. It's kind of a retelling of the Captain Marvel origin. So this is by let's see, this is by Steve Beeling and Luca Barbary and Giada Parasinotto. Parasinotto. Uh, so that's your team on there. And I've never read the like origin issue of Captain
Hmm.
Marvel. Back then she was Miss Marvel, but this one they just call her Captain Marvel through the entire thing. But Minnie works at a newspaper, and she works for Uncle Scrooge, and feels very much like a Superman
Yeah.
Daily Planet type thing. But she's trying to do a story on who is Captain Marvel, and of course you see the cover here. It seems kind of weird that she's doing that, but you do see like Captain Marvel out there, like saving people and being a hero and all that. But uh, there's kind of an attack on the city, and Minnie's like, "Ooh, I'm feeling a little woozy," and then cut, and Captain Marvel is saving the day. And of course, you kind of find out that she kind of blacks out and then becomes Captain Marvel and doesn't remember it. So that's really fun, and especially when Peg Leg Pete Scorpion attacks the newspaper, and that's really fun. She has ways of you know chopping bits of his tail off and all this stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of like fun Disney references as the Beagle Boys are in it and all of that. So if you've enjoyed these Marvel Disney crossovers, this is another great one. I think the art is fantastic in this. I know the next one they're doing, it teases at the end, is a Fantastic Four with there you get like multiple characters. That's going to be really fun. But I thought this one was really good. Can't wait till we get like a Infinity Gauntlet,
Oh
and then she
yeah.
has like all of the
Yeah.
characters in it. But yeah, this was really fun, and it's just a one shot, kind of just doing the origin story. We got our A cover there, and then we also have a Scotty Young variant, which I like his style on a Disney character. It kind
Yeah.
of gives it a little extra spin.
Well, next I've got Batman and Robin Year One, Number Two. This is written by Mark Waid and the art is by Chris Samney. And the main story of this whole series is that there's this new mob boss named the General. He is trying to set up shop in Gotham and wants to take over everything, regardless of the fact that there's already several crime families there. But this issue doesn't really deal with that too much. This issue deals more with Bruce and Dick and then Batman and Robin doing their own thing. So, first up is Bruce and Dick. They get visited by Child Protective Services who are very suspicious that a billionaire socialite will be a good father figure. They actually have a pool going in their office about, how long do you think it'll be before Bruce Wayne puts him up for adoption or hands him off to another family or something like that. So that's one part of the story. The other part of the story is Batman and Robin investigating a tip about the Maronis pulling an arson job, which leads to this really cool sequence of Robin saving some kids from a burning building, and it's really cool. And
In his own
Batman, in
style.
his own style, yeah, Batman is scared for him to do that. Robin, don't, but Robin is impulsive and goes and does it anyway. And Batman, it shows him actually being kind of proud of him after that. And I like that this series, or at least these first two issues so far, portray Batman as being mostly patient and a patient and supportive mentor to Robin instead of like a drill sergeant. There is one part in this book where they are training and Bruce kind of loses his patience with, or Batman kind of, well, they're out of costume. So Bruce kind of loses his patience with Dick because Dick doesn't do things the way that Batman does. And Batman's not used to that, and Alfred has to kind of calm him down a little bit. But outside of that, Batman is a very um, supportive mentor to Robin. I think back to Frank Miller and Jim Lee's All Star
Oh
Batman and
yeah.
Robin, and Batman was just an awful to Robin. This is the polar opposite of that, and I much prefer this. And I love how they show Robin's natural aptitude for even doing this line of work. He does make some mistakes, but he's already very competent at what he's doing. And the scene of him saving the kids from that building is very, very cool. Like you said, he does it in his own way. So another great issue of Batman and Robin Year One. This is going to be a 12-issue series, so there's going to be lots more to come. And the bit with the general and all that stuff, that's fine. But I just like the stuff like in here,
Yeah, there's
showing
a
them
lot of
together.
really cool moments. I like that, they go into like what is it that a billionaire adopted this young ward and stuff, but Bruce actually talks about it. He's like, I feel like I'm, well equipped to do this, one, financially, but also I suffered this same trauma that
Yeah,
he did about losing his parents. And I feel like I'm equipped to help him get through this. And he talks about, like, I know the feelings he's going through. There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of this stuff. And, it feels very much like a mentor. Like,
yeah,
I can help you get through this kind of time of grieving. And maybe even there's a little bit of like, Dick Grayson is going so hard into being Robin and everything, covering up some of his like grief or whatever,
yeah. It's
because he
trauma.
hasn't really
Yeah,
shown a whole lot of that. There's also a great moment where the Child Protective Services like sees Alfred and they're like, "So how much time does Dick spend with the butler?" And Bruce is like, "I know you're trying to get me to say like I just like hand him off to
yeah.
the butler and I don't pay any attention to him, but I do like it's very little time. I'm mostly the one handling it. I just think it's cool to see Batman and Bruce explain a lot of
Yeah.
like what he sees as his job to help Dick Grayson at this point in his life. I thought that was great.
Yeah, it's really cool, and obviously Chris Samney's artwork. I love the way he depicts Robin's acrobatics,
Yeah.
and we
There's
see it
one
several
page where
times in
he's
this.
bouncing across the top of the
Yeah,
page. That's he's kind of like moving through the Batcave, and like he like vaults off of the giant card, the giant Joker card at
yeah,
one
yeah,
point. It's really cool to see the way Samney kind of
yeah.
plays out that scene.
So yeah, phenomenal issue. I love this series so far. So there's our A cover right there, and we have this nice Kevin Nolan variant also.
I also like how Chris Samney draws Dick Grayson's like mask and stuff because you can still very much see his eyes behind it.
Yeah,
It still feels like kind of an early iteration of the
yeah,
Domino mask. And he draws him like young. He doesn't look like he's already like an adult
oh yeah, he was
out
like a
there.
little kid. Yeah,
Yeah, and it makes the like the height difference and stuff of the two really fun and
yeah.
everything. Next up, I want to talk about Exceptional X-Men number 3. So this is funny. It's issue 3 of a series and everything, but I really enjoy this series. I love Kitty Pride, and this is such a great spotlight issue for her, and this whole series has been. So in the previous one, Kitty Pride has been very hesitant to um, acknowledge her past with mutants, with the X Men, with anything. She just wants a fresh start. And the problem with that is she kind of can't help but be a good person and a good leader. As through the first 2 issues, she's met some other young mutants that maybe have had similar experiences to what she did growing up. And whether she likes it or not, they've kind of come under her wing until the end of the last issue, where Emma Frost, who's been kind of probing the minds of different mutants, almost just like she's bored and looking for, like, I need to get back to doing the job I was doing before. Um, she's kind of taken control of these 3 young mutants, and that's where this one begins, where Kitty and Emma Frost have a great fight, but it's not like, blowing through walls and everything. It feels like a legitimate, like, I've had enough of you fight between 2 people who know each other very well. So that's really fun. But Emma Frost does convince Kitty that, these, whether you want to be involved in, mutantdom and everything that came before, you still now have a responsibility to make sure these kids can protect themselves in a world that hates mutants. And who's better equipped to do that than you? So they do kind of rent out a space to train, not in a way of like we're gonna be a new X-Men team, but like this is a way you can protect yourself when you're on your own. And this is the issue where they get their names, they're like mutant aliases. They get their suits thanks to Emma Frost, who keeps pushing the kind of X-Men agenda on them, whereas Kitty's like, no, just let them be or whatever. But this was just really, really fun. There's a guest appearance character that shows up at the end that it makes me look forward to the next issue. But what I like about this series so far is this is some of the most character development we've seen out of an X-Men character in a long time, because we've seen Kitty Pryde over the last 40 plus years go from being the youngest mutant to join the X-Men to now kind of mentoring the next generation, or the next generation, how many generations there's been of young X-Men, but that there's a lot of scenes in this where she remembers her time, early days in the X-Men, and even Emma kind of reminds her of, like, you were younger than these kids when
Hmm.
Xavier brought you into
Yeah.
this. And I think that's a really interesting thing, that now you're seeing kind of the other end of the spectrum now that she's older. So if you're a Kitty Pryde fan, I think this is such a fantastic series for that. I was kind of hesitant with, like, oh, you're introducing more new mutants, but they've stuck with 3 has felt really like, okay, I can learn about these 3 characters, and it's a good range of characters for her to interact with and develop and everything. So that's really cool. But yeah, I just love this issue. Maybe the series isn't for everyone, but it's been one of my favorite ones so far. So that is issue number 3 of Exceptional X-Men. That's your A cover. And we also have this really nice incentive. This is the Carmen 1 in 25. We're selling for $19.99. So you see your characters there in their costumes. They all have like red and black now, which is really cool. But I just like Kitty Pryde the whole time. It's just in the most casual, like, I can't deal with it.
Yeah.
I just woke up. Time close.
Well, I have a number 3. This is Avengers Assemble number 3. And this whole series has been, each issue is a one and done of different members of the Avengers taking on different threats. And in this one, She-Hulk, Wonder Man, Lightning, and Lightspeed respond to an incident. Oh, my notes are weird. They respond to an incident at North Brother Island, which has become a haven to vampires after the Blood Hunt event. And the vampires there are being attacked by a new team of Night Stalkers. So you '90s kids out there who were reading Marvel in the '90s, the Night Stalkers is a very familiar name to you, but this is not that team from the '90s. It's instead it's made up of who I think are new characters. I think this is the first appearance of several new characters. There's one named Voracious, Coma, Abby Morris, and you'll see them all on a cover on a variant cover here in a second. And then there's also the character Bloodscream, who is not new. He's been around since the late '80s. I think it first appeared in the Wolverine book. But I couldn't find anything else about these characters before. But I'm still not sure because the Avengers talk about them like they know them. So maybe I'm just wrong and I just couldn't find it. Maybe they're so obscure that I couldn't find anything. But I couldn't find anything at all. So I feel like they're new characters except for Bloodscream. But most of the issue is those four Avengers fighting these new Night Stalkers. But there is a mystery that's set up at the end involving the Serpent Society that we saw a little bit of in the first issue. And I think that also has another first appearance of a new character named Titanoboa, who is kind of like the Serpent Society's version of Giant Man. He's
Ooh.
just this big giant character. You know, we see him punching one of the Serpent Society members, and he's able to just punch his whole body with his fist and drive it into the ground. So it looks like he's this giant, literally this giant character that's teamed up with the Serpent Society. So yeah, if you're trying to get first appearances, this may be the book for you. And then outside of that, it's just a cool book with, I just like seeing She-Hulk again because
Yeah.
I love She-Hulk and I hate that she doesn't have her own series anymore. And it's been a long time since we've seen Wonder Man do anything, so it's cool to see them fight all these vampires, or I guess, and these new Night Stalkers. I think they're vampires fighting against other vampires, but I'm not 100% sure.
Can
Maybe
it do
they're like
anything outwardly vampire like?
well, yeah, they might be like a different breed of vampire or something.
Okay.
That was a little bit unclear. But yeah, so don't miss this if you've been getting this whole series. I think there's two more left after this. So there's our A cover right there. We have this nice In-Hyuk Lee cover with She-Hulk.
And Wasp
Oh yeah, I didn't even see Wasp on there.
on her leg.
And then here is your new team of Night Stalkers, and I believe this is solicited as a spoiler variant. I don't really know why because they're not. I mean, it's just characters,
Especially if you
right?
don't know them, then
Yeah.
what's it spoiling?
I'm trying to make it. So yeah, there you go. That's your new team of Night Stalkers. There's a couple characters on there that are not new, but the other three are. So yeah.
Well, next up, I've got another new number one. This is Milestone Universe, The Shadow Cabinet, number one. It's going to be a four-issue miniseries written by Joseph P. Illich with Daryl Banks and Adigun Ilhan. And so my disclaimer for this is I know a little bit of the Milestone universe, mostly Static, because that comes from me watching Static Shock
Yeah.
growing up. And then, through osmosis, learning about like Icon and Hardware and Rocket and all of those characters later. But I haven't been super caught up with some of the miniseries that came before. And this is a follow up to a previous miniseries. I don't remember what it was called, but I know they had kind of some new milestone stuff a year or so ago. But there is the first page is like a previously on page, and it does run down because they did something happen. It caught the attention of Brainiac in the previous series, but it does feel like I do believe this is in its own universe. Like I
Hmm.
don't think there's Superman or Batman or anybody in this universe. It's hard to tell, but it does have Brainiac, which is interesting. But Rocket, who is was originally kind of the sidekick to Icon, has stepped up as the primary hero in the Milestone universe, as Icon had to go into deep space to deal with something. I think that happened in the previous series, but now Rocket is like the it's cool. It's kind of like if Robin became the main hero of the universe, but we do see in this that there is a new there's a villain auction, which I always like those. There was
Yeah.
one from like a Batman series and everything. I love this villain auction where they're auctioning off the head of Brainiac, like one of his like the robot head that's kind of oval shaped and everything. Um, and it's not Rocket that gets there first, but a new character named Nancy, who's kind of based off of the Spider God and everything.
Mm.
He's really cool, and he goes in there, and then Rocket shows up and is basically like, "Whoa, like what's going on here? Who are you?" But he does invite her to go with him through this like shadow portal, which I think is part of his powers, where she meets this shadow cabinet, which is the what this book is going to be about. Which you only they're not through the entire book. They're just in this last little bit. But you do meet Dharma, Iron Butterfly, and a Nancy, which are like the three new ones. Iron Butterfly is cool because At one point, she's like really armored up, but then she turns into like a huge dragon, that's like looks kind of like her armor. But I know from the solicitations, it talks about these are heroes that kind of work behind the scenes, um, that people don't even know, but they protect the cities and everything from stuff. So I'm not sure how this is all going to play together with Rocket coming into that, but it was an interesting first issue. But it definitely helps if you have a somewhat history of the Milestone characters, because it doesn't introduce you to them or anything. This is a new mini series that does follow up a previous one. But as long as you're good, like reading that previously on page and kind of uh, trying to follow along and figure out what's going on, you think you'll enjoy it, especially if you're a fan of the Milestone universe. And it's cool to get some new additions to that as well. So there's your A cover, and then we do have a variant that has your new characters on it. So this is a Nancy, and that is Iron Butterfly, and that's Dharma up there. And this is the Nicholas Draper Ivy variant. I know they talked. I think the solicitation for issue number 2 says like Static is in it,
Oh, cool.
so that has me excited
Yeah.
because I love that character. And then I love this cover, which Hardware is in this, I believe. He's just like out of suit. Um, but you've got this awesome Sean Gordon Murphy variant
Nice.
with Hardware, and then you got Icon of Rocket over here, Blood Syndicate, and Hardware like fully decked out down there. But yeah, I think that's a. Now I see that and be like, oh, I'd love a Sean Gordon Murphy
Mm-hmm.
book set in that universe.
All right, I've got Wonder Woman number 15, and this issue is awesome. So, this is okay, so stay with me here. This is the first issue of the last story arc that features the Sovereign, not the last story arc of the series, but this story arc, this big long story that they've been telling
The
with the
Sovereign.
Sovereign that started in issue 1 of the series. That's going to end in issue number 19, and then it's going to go beyond that. The series is going to go beyond that, but the Sovereign storyline is getting wrapped up in number 19. Well, this is the first issue of that final story arc, and this is really cool. So this is actually more of a first appearance. More. This is like a first full appearance, I would say, of Baby Trinity. We saw how she was created at the very end of last issue, but we actually see her as a baby in this, and we see Wonder Woman taking care of her as a mother in this. While she's doing that, um, Cassie Sandsmark, Yara Flor, Donna Troy, and Cheetah, they hit the Sovereign where it hurts most, his money. And it is so well done the way they systematically dismantle the Sovereign's entire empire piece by piece. And you see they each of those characters, they each focus on one specific part of the empire, of the Sovereign's empire, and taking it down. And it's really cool the way it's done because it's intermixed with scenes of Wonder Woman just taking care of baby Trinity, and she's singing the song, four little princesses jumping on a bed.
Mm-hmm.
One fell off and bumped her head, and the goddess said, "No more babies jumping on the bed." And and then we see that, and then we see another character do that. And then we see Wonder Woman
It's a
sing
very
another little
Tom King
verse.
structure.
Yeah, it is so cool the way it is. And knowing that like all this is happening while Wonder Woman is just like, hey, I'm just at home taking care of my daughter, while also the Sovereign is getting just completely destroyed. It's just really well done. I'm not doing it justice describing it, but when you see
The
it,
art
you'll
in this one
know.
is fantastic
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Daniel Sampere is killing it, and there is a beautiful backup story of Steve Trevor in heaven, basically, and it's so well done too because it just shows how he would still do anything to be with Diana, even though he's in heaven. He still just wants nothing more than just to be back with Diana. Everything about this issue is awesome. It is so cool, and it's the beginning of the end for the Sovereign. I can't wait to see how it all plays out. We see how it started, and I can't wait to see the end of it. So, really nice, awesome issue of Wonder Woman right here. So, there's our A cover right here. We have this David Talaski variant. And we have this 1 in 25 Sowie variant that we're selling for $14.99. So probably one of my favorite issues of the entire series so far. This is really good.
Next up, I've got the Terminator #2, and I even put in my notes. Theoretically, should be better than the first issue, being Terminator 2.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you're right.
But this one's cool. So the first issue was like a standalone story. I believe this one is at least 2 parts, um, because it does have like a to be continued in it. But this one is set in Vietnam, and a Terminator appears in a small village in Vietnam. But of course, like he arrives, he's naked, he's in like that like superhero pose,
Yeah.
all of that. Immediately, people start attacking him, and does not go well. As like someone throws an axe at him and it sticks in him, and he just like pulls it out, and you get that classic cool like first Terminator moment. So that's going on. Meanwhile, there's a U.S. soldier named, I guess his last name is Dugan. That's how I would pronounce it,
Yeah.
but it does have 2 G's. Um, has they're basically like, hey, our like area we're in is getting surrounded. We're about to like evac out of here. It's getting really dangerous. But this one guy is like, no, I've got. He says he has treasure out. That he's like, I've got treasure. I've got to go get it.
Huh.
And it's really weird because you're like, dude, like you're gonna die in this area if you don't go. What is this treasure you're talking about? But he tells one of his people like, I'm gonna go as fast as I can, and the guy's like, you're not gonna make it, but okay. As it's getting more and more dangerous there. So Dugan goes out, and we do see him kind of like the path he's taking, and he visits one place where he thinks his treasure is, but someone there says no, it was moved somewhere else. So it's I have my theories about what it is, but this whole time it's going between that and this Terminator, and of course these two are going to meet up at some point. But there's some great moments of this Terminator fighting some like local soldiers there, punching trucks and doing all of that. But I think this is great. This is such a like cool concept for Terminator, putting him in different time frames. Not just the '90s or the late '80s or
Yeah.
whatever. Like it's seeing how like people would respond to something like this appearing. Yeah, and it is to be continued, at least for the next issue. So I'm all in on this series. I think it's a lot of fun. So there is your A cover. And then we also have this is the Cousins variant. And then we also have a foil version of the A cover. And we have a 1 in 15 foil cover that we're selling for $19.99.
Well, I have another Moon book. This is Moon Knight, Fist of Khonshu #2. And in this one, Moon Knight and his team, they continue to go after Fairchild and his the drug that he's peddling called glitter, which is literal fairy dust. We learned that in the first issue. But this leads them into conflict with the Moon Knight villain known as Cubist, who I actually have never heard of. But Cubist tells them that since they are going after Fairchild's business, Fairchild is going to go after their business, but they don't really know what that means. They just know it's going to involve the Midnight Mission. And this also has a connection to the short-lived Avengers Inc. series.
Oh, wow.
That 5-issue series that involves Hank Pym that I did not see coming whatsoever. But I thought it was really cool to see that. So yeah, just another really cool issue of Moon Knight. This is the second issue of this new ongoing series. Yeah, so don't miss that. And this is the only cover I have.
Next up, I have Wolverine #3. Let me just say, the art in this book is awesome, and there is plenty of action,
Oh
which
yeah.
I love for a Wolverine series. But in the last one, Wolverine ran into a new Wendigo that was out in the cold, and first he was like, I've thrown down with Wendigos before, it's no problem. Until you realize this Wendigo seems to be like a 16-year-old boy who's been turned into one and is still right on the edge of like still having his humanity. But something happened, and now he has full bloodlust, and Wolverine has to figure out how to deal with this Wendigo without killing it or whatever, because he did see there's a chance there's still some humanity in there. It's also so cool. You see Wolverine help a fallen soldier of the guys who are hunting him, but he takes a minute and tries to help the guy in his own unique Wolverine way. And there is at the end of this, some more of that mysterious metal we saw from the first
Yeah.
issue and what it's doing, which is pretty surprising as you see where this probably the bigger story is going with a guest appearance by another really cool Wolverine character in that. So another really fun issue of Wolverine, especially if you like your Wolverine with a bunch of action, because this he goes all out in this one. So there is your A cover. We have a really cool Ken Lashley variant. We've got a the Thing variant because they're doing the Thing month.
That's awesome.
Yeah, maybe that's like Weapon T or
Yeah.
something. Which then just makes me think of Mr. T
Yep.
as Weapon X, and that also sounds fun. And then, of course, we have the Fortnite Marvel Absolute Doom variant with Peel Verine. It's actually really well done. I didn't see the artist on this one.
Yeah, that looks really good.
But, I mean, it looks awesome. But yeah, if you ever wonder what Wolverine would look like as a big banana, there you go. We also have a really nice Villalobos cover, which is kind of like one of those color bleed variants, the way the yellow goes out. And then lastly, we have a Mobley variant. I'm not sure what the ratio is on this one, but we are selling it for $14.99.
Well, I've got Storm number 2. And in last issue, Storm was exposed to a lethal dose of radiation during the incident with the power plant in, I don't remember where it was, Oklahoma City maybe, or New Mexico. And now it's affecting her to the point where she's coughing up blood and her hair is falling out. So she visits the hospital for the extra mundane, which specializes in treating mutant ailments. And the doctor there tells her that there's no cure for her condition and that she has only a few hours to live. And it actually starts to count down and shows what she's doing in these last few hours. But he does refer her to another doctor that specializes in dark magic. And it's a character who we know and who I like. And I can't wait to see how they treat her next issue. It's a character that Storm knows and everybody who reads Marvel Comics knows. So, yeah, just another really cool issue of Storm. There's a nice action scene in the very beginning. And then how is she going to deal with this radiation sickness she has? Maybe magic is the answer. But there's our A cover right there. And we have this Sarah Pacelli Marvel 2-in-1 variant. Thing is not in this book.
It's funny they're doing Thing variants and Marvel 2-in-1
Yeah.
variants featuring the Thing.
Right.
They're separate variant series. Okay, next up, I've got Batman Full Moon number 2, continuing this pretty dark miniseries. In the last one, we saw that Batman got actually bit by a werewolf that was out. And in this one, he's been saved by Alfred and Constantine, but they still don't know, did he get bit like he's going to turn into a werewolf or not. They're still, they won't know until the full moon, but Batman's really optimistic that he's not going to turn into a werewolf.
Feels pretty good about it, yeah.
But they still say, like, it may take more than medicine, it may take magic to cure you. And so Zatanna gets involved, which I think is awesome because Bruce and Zatanna are dating in this series.
Yeah.
And the way they interact and everything is really cool. Like, they really love each other in this, and I like that pairing. I wouldn't mind seeing another miniseries with them together. But she's gonna try to separate the wolf soul from Bruce's soul, and that's a really cool scene. But will it work? And if it doesn't, what will happen when he transforms? Could anybody stop a werewolf Batman? And there's a really cool final 2 pages in this. But yeah, if you're enjoying this miniseries that just started, we've got issue number 2 now. So that is your A cover. And we also have this fantastic Francavilla variant.
Ooh. Like that one. All right. Well, I've got Sentinels number 2. And in this one, this is an X-Men adjacent book. And in this one, the Sentinels are sent to the country of Bagalia to get Sebastian Shaw out of the prison there so they can take him to Greymalkin prison. And it seems weird to break him out of one prison just to put him in another one, but it turns out that he's actually running the prison that he's in. So they want to make sure that he's locked up properly. And most of this issue is actually just very action-packed. It's an action-packed prison break. But we do learn something interesting about one of the Sentinels that ties back to the days of the original Onslaught event. There's even the first couple pages um, show that event going on. Like they drew another action sequence. It was showing the Fantastic Four and the Avengers and those guys fighting Onslaught. And it was just really cool to revisit that again. So just want to let you know, if you pick up the first issue, that the second issue is out this week. And Sebastian Shaw is front and center as the big bad that they have to take down. And that is the only cover I have, is the A cover.
Next up, I've got Titans number 17. I mostly want to talk about this because this is our second issue with our new creative team of John Layman and Pete Woods, which I really like. The first issue of this, having the Titans go up against, first they didn't realize it, but it's Clock King, and he was doing stuff that messed with their minds, where like Donna Troy saw the rest of the Titans, but like how they looked in the original Teen Titans, all of that. But this is like a big book for Donna Troy as she's kind of stepped up to the leadership point of this. But as Clock King has the rest of the Titans in those classic, like they're tied down to these machines with things on their heads, all of that, he makes them relive their worst moments. And that's throughout their entire like career. So you see different bits from different storylines, which is really cool, including stuff from like recent stuff with Beast Boy becoming Starro and all that, but then some older stuff that's really cool too. But just as you think they've won the day, a very classic Titans villain shows up, and it seems like that's going to be kind of a bigger story going forward.
Yeah, I'm excited about that though.
Yeah, that's the part that's like, oh, now we're getting into some good Titan stuff. So there is your A cover. We also have this Raza cover. I love that Beast Boy is a little owl in Raven's lap. This one, I really love this cover. This is the Galman variant with Red Arrow or Arsenal and Nightwing.
Oh, that's nice.
Two bros that kind of grew up together. And then we also have the McFarlane Toys variant with Deathstroke. So if you like that, you can go out and get that figure right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have another Moon book. I have 3 different Moon-related books this week. This is The Moon is Following Us, number 3. And just real quick, this is really good because the story is continuing at a nice pace. Sam and Duncan learn where Penny is being held in the dream world that they're in, and they do plan an attack with their allies to get her back. And they actually carry out that plan of attack. And I'm not going to tell you how it goes, if they save her or not, but we learn something very surprising about who is keeping her captive. I didn't see it coming. It was very like my eyes went up when I saw it. So another great issue of The Moon is Following Us. Daniel Warren Johnson, Riley Rossmo, just doing some awesome stuff here. So there's our A cover, and we have this really nice Daniel Warren Johnson cover with Sam. She's been through some things in only 3 issues, and you can see it here.
I want to show this off real quick. So this is a variant cover for G.I. Joe issue 1, which came out last week.
Yeah, I think so.
But this one was a special cover, so it took another week for it to come out. But this is the like special die cut cover, and if you look, it opens up and you have like a Cobra Commander mask.
So you rip that off your book and then
put it on your face. But yeah, so a very cool variant cover that I feel like we had questions like, well, what's like cut out and all of that. So here you can see that on the front and the back, it comes off to make kind of a full Cobra Commander helmet. So yeah, I feel like this is a cover that like needs to be demonstrated, so you understand what it looks like.
Wait, is it lenticular too? I thought I saw when you change the. Oh, it's just shiny.
No, it's just shiny. Yeah. Like this part of it has a little bit of a shine to it, but very cool. So if you haven't got enough G.I. Joe and you want to get another really special cover, I feel like this one is going to be overlooked just because it's unique and it also didn't come out the week of release. So yeah, and let me see, it is $5.99. So also a good price for specialness of it.
Well, I've got another Moon book. This is Moon Knight again, but this is Phases of the Moon Knight number 4. And this is the final issue of this series, and this is the first appearance of 2 more Moon Knights from different points in time. The first one is from Alexandria, Egypt, from back in 1882. It's a woman named Nakia, and she fights against the invading British army, but also the demon that they accidentally unleash there. The art in this is really cool, and I really liked her costume design. You'll see it on a variant in a second. That story was really cool. And then the other story with the other Moon Knight actually takes place during Blood Hunt #5,
Wow.
when Khonshu was freed and summoned all of the previous Moon Knights to help fight all the vampires. And this features one of those resurrected Moon Knights who was a king from Mesopotamia back in 824 BC. And then we get a little bit of a flashback to show how he got the power of Khonshu. He was originally given that power when he was on his deathbed, and his son was trying to steal the throne from him. And we see that how he got Moon Knight. And now, we saw his backstory, and then we see him in present day during the Blood Hunt event fighting against some vampires. So just if you've been getting the other issues, or you've been trying to collect all the appearance of all these brand new Moon Knights, then don't miss this issue. So there's our A cover right here, and then this is the design variant, and this is that Moon Knight design that I was talking about with Nakia. Her and the artwork in that story is really good. Like everything about that was cool. Do you have any more?
I'm fresh out.
Okay, I've got a couple more that I'll talk about just real quick. Phoenix #5. This was really cool. So in this one, Jean has an encounter with the cosmic being Entity after her fight with Gore the God Butcher from last. I say my note says last year, last issue, but it's a cool sequence because we see more of the newly designed cosmic beings from that Gods miniseries. They're kind of in the background, but they all have their new looks that they got in that series. And this encounter with Eternity makes her even more powerful than she already was, which the Galactic Council is not happy with at all because they think that she's too powerful. And they bring in another well known Marvel villain to help them deal with her, to figure out what to do with her. And if you see the cover for next issue, you'll see who that villain is. But this was really cool. I really like this one a lot. This is our A cover right here, and then this is our Mercado variant. And then my last one, just to let you know that Spider-Man Reign 2 #5 comes out this week, and this is the last issue of this miniseries. And the adventure in the past is over. They are now back in their present, our future, and it's time for the final face-off with Kingpin for the fate of the city. And obviously, I can't tell you too much. This is the final issue, so I can't really tell you how it all goes down. But I did like how it ended. I thought it was really well done. And maybe there'll be a Spider-Man Reign 3. Maybe there won't. I'm not too sure. But yeah, if you got all the other ones, then don't miss the final issue because it wraps everything up really
And
well.
overall, you really like this series.
I like this one better than the first Spider-Man Reign. I thought this one was pretty good. Yeah. That's it.
Well, that is it. So there's a lot of great books that are coming out this week that you don't want to miss out on. So head on over to infinityflux.net, like we always tell you to do, because that is where you can order these books right now. They're live. They're up there while supplies last. Come in on Wednesday, pick up your books then as well, as long as there's still some left on the shelf. And yeah, thank you so much for watching.
Yeah.
Glad Matt is back.
Yeah.
Even though you're not at 100%.
Not 100%. I don't know if you guys can tell, my voice is still a little bit gone, but hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah, after 2 weeks, maybe next week we'll both be present and 100%.
Yeah.
So let's all hope for that.
I was worried that people would think there was a feud going on, and we just can't stand to be. It's like The Rock and Vin Diesel. We can't be on camera anymore.
We make up reasons why the other one's not there. Yeah, but we're here, and we are excited for all these comics. So thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned for our show coming up on Wednesday. We'll be going over the books that you can order a little bit early, so you don't miss out on any of that good stuff. And until then, I think that is all. So thank you for watching, and see ya.
See ya.